The text message glowed on the screen of my old flip phone, a stark white lie and a sea of honest, everyday conversations. Hey, honey, running late. Met up with June for a surprise shopping trip. Don't wait up for dinner. Love you. I looked up from the phone, across my kitchen table, and met the eyes of the real June. She was sitting right there, a half-empty glass iced tea in her hand, a confused frown on her face. She'd been here for the last 2 hours, helping me look through old photos for the anniversary gift I was making for Brenda. Well, I said, my voice sounded distant and hollow even to my own ears. That's strange. June read the message over my shoulder. Her frown deepened. Shopping? Art, I haven't been to a mall in 6 months. A cold knot formed in my stomach. For a year, I'd been rebuilding my life with Brenda. I thought we were building it on a foundation of solid oak. Turns out it was cheap particle board with a fancy veneer, and the truth had just peeled a corner right off. The plan I had for our future suddenly felt like a house of cards in a hurricane. And I knew right then and there that I wouldn't be confronting her. Now, confrontation is messy. I'm a craftsman. I prefer a clean, precise finish. My name is Arthur Miller. I'm 62 years old, and for most of my life, my hands have been my partners. They're calloused and scarred from decades of working with wood, turning rough-hewn planks into pieces of furniture that'll outlive me. My workshop, the big converted barn behind my house, smells of sawdust and varnish and honest labor. It's my sanctuary. It's where I made sense of the world after my wife, Eleanor, passed away from cancer 10 years ago. For a long time, that workshop was the only company I needed. The hum of the table saw and the patient scrape of sandpaper were my conversations. Then, 2 years ago, Brenda came into my life. She was a realtor who helped sell my neighbor's place. She was vibrant, full of life, with a laugh that could fill a room, and a way of looking at me that made me feel like I wasn't just some old woodworker covered in dust. She was 55, twice divorced, and she said she was tired of men who were all talk and no substance. She loved my house, the one I built with Eleanor. She'd run her hands over the cherry wood mantelpiece and say, "You can feel the integrity in this, Art. You just don't find this kind of quality anymore." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. After a decade of quiet loneliness, her energy was like a spring thaw. We started slow, then fell into a comfortable rhythm. Dinners out, weekends upstate, evenings on the porch swing. She brought color back into my black and white world. I started thinking about the future again, something I thought I'd packed away with Eleanor's belongings. Our 2-year anniversary was coming up. I decided I wasn't going to buy her some store-bought piece of jewelry. That's not my style. I decided to make her something. A locket. Not just any locket, but one carved from a piece of bird's eye maple I'd been saving for almost 20 years. A piece so beautiful it looked like it held a galaxy of tiny stars. Inside, I planned to put a tiny new photo of us on one side. On the other, I wanted to put a picture of her. I needed help choosing the right one that captured her spirit. That's why June was over. June had been Eleanor's best friend, and after Eleanor was gone, she became my rock. She was family. She knew me better than anyone, and she got to know Brenda over the past 2 years. She was cautiously optimistic for me. "Just take it slow, Art," she'd say. "You've got a good heart. Make sure she does too." So when I needed a woman's eye, I called June.
We were sorting through photos when my phone buzzed with that lie. A lie so casual, so needless, it felt like a slap in the face.
Playing dumb is harder than splitting oak against the grain. When Brenda waltzed in an hour later, arms full of shopping bags from a high-end boutique I'd never heard of, she was all smiles and breathless apologies. "Oh, honey, I am so sorry. June just dragged me out. You know how she is. We had the most wonderful time. I found the perfect dress for the Vance's party." She kissed my cheek, a quick, dry peck. It smelled of expensive perfume. I just nodded, forced a smile. "Sounds like fun. Find anything good?" I asked, my voice tight. "Just this and that," she said, waving a dismissive hand. "You know, girl stuff." The lie sat in the air between us, thick and suffocating. She launched into a detailed, completely fabricated story of their afternoon. They'd had lattes, she said. They'd laughed about some woman's ridiculous hat. Every word was a small, sharp jab at my gut. I looked over at the empty iced tea glass June had left on the counter, a silent witness to the truth. Over the next few weeks, that one lie became a magnifying glass. Suddenly, I started noticing things I'd previously dismissed as quirks. The way she'd call my lovingly restored 1985 Chevy Silverado that old thing. The subtle little corrections she'd make to my stories when we were with her friends. Friends who all seemed to drive German cars and talk about stock portfolios. She'd laugh and say, "Oh, Art, you're so wonderfully old-fashioned." But it didn't sound like a compliment anymore. It sounded like an apology. Her world was one of appearances. Her friends, their parties, their country clubs. It was a world built on the right brands and the right zip codes. I'd always felt like an exhibit in that world, the authentic craftsman. She loved the idea of me. She loved showing off the hand-turned bowls on her shelves and the solid oak table in her dining room. But me, the man with sawdust in his hair and grease under his fingernails, I was beginning to think she was ashamed of that part. The Vance's party was the breaking point. It was at their sprawling, sterile mansion on the other side of town. I felt like I was wearing a costume in my sport coat and slacks. Brenda floated through the crowd, introducing me with a little too much enthusiasm. "This is Art. He makes the most incredible furniture all by hand." Later, I was standing by the fireplace when I overheard her talking to Richard Vance, a real estate developer with a predatory smile. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught a few phrases that stuck in me like splinters. "Such a simple soul, a diamond in the rough, needs a bit of polishing." She was describing me like I was a piece of reclaimed lumber she was planning to sand down and sell for a profit. I felt a hot flush of anger followed by a profound, chilling clarity. The lie about being with June wasn't random. It was a symptom. She was living a different life, or at least curating one, and I wasn't fitting into the picture she was trying to paint. I walked out to the veranda to get some air, my hands clenched into fists in my pockets. My first instinct was to go back in there, grab her by the arm, and call her out in front of everyone. But that wasn't me. Anger's a blunt instrument. I prefer a chisel. I needed a plan.
The next Monday, I was in my workshop, the half-finished maple locket sitting on my workbench. It mocked me, a symbol of a future that now felt like a fiction. I couldn't bring myself to work on it. I just sat there, staring at the grain, the phone call I'd just made still echoing in my mind. I'd called June. I didn't beat around the bush. "June, I need you to be honest with me. What do you really think of Brenda?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Art," she finally said, her voice gentle, "I think Brenda enjoys the view from your front porch, but I don't think she wants to help you tend the garden." It was a perfect way for June to put it, and it hit the nail right on the head. She went on to tell me things she'd been hesitant to share before. Little comments Brenda had made in confidence. How Brenda had joked about me getting a new truck, maybe a Lexus SUV like Richard Vance's. How she'd mentioned that if I just marketed myself properly, I could be charging 5 times what I do and selling to celebrities. She wasn't proud of my craft. She was trying to monetize my soul. The biggest bombshell was about the day of the lie. June had a friend who worked at a spa near the fancy boutique Brenda had shopped at. That friend had seen Brenda having lunch. She wasn't alone, and she wasn't with June. She was with Richard Vance, the developer from the party. They were laughing, heads close together, looking very comfortable. That was it. The final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. It wasn't just a lie. It was a cover-up. She was building a bridge to a different world, and Richard Vance was the architect. I hung up the phone, a cold, calm resolve settling over me. My anger was gone, replaced by a quiet determination. I wasn't just going to break up with her. That would let her off too easy. She'd spin a story, make me the bad guy, the simple old fool who couldn't keep up with her. No, she had built her new identity on a foundation of appearances and my authentic craftsmanship. I decided I would use that very foundation to bring her little world crashing down. I looked at the locket, then at a stack of perfectly joined walnut boards in the corner. An idea began to form, a plan that was intricate, personal, and would use my greatest skill as its weapon. She wanted to show me off as her pet craftsman. Fine. I would give her one last unforgettable performance.
A week later, I told Brenda I had a surprise for her. I know you've been wanting to have your new friends over for dinner, I said, putting on my most earnest face. The Vances, the Prestons, why don't we host them here? A real, home-cooked meal. My treat. Her eyes lit up. This was exactly what she wanted. A chance to showcase her rustic but refined life in its natural habitat. Oh, Art, that's a wonderful idea. I'll get the best wine. We can use the silver Eleanor's mother left you. Perfect, I said. And I'm making something special for the occasion. A centerpiece for the table. A gift for you, actually. For the next 2 weeks, I worked tirelessly in my shop. The project was a memory box, a stunning piece made from the finest walnut with intricate maple inlays and hand-cut dovetail joints. It was a masterpiece of my craft, the kind of piece she loved to brag about. It was beautiful, elegant, and completely hollow on the inside, just like our relationship. The night of the dinner party arrived. Our home was filled with the scent of roasted chicken and the sound of Brenda's friends talking loudly about their vacations in the Hamptons. Richard Vance was there, looking smug in a cashmere sweater. Brenda was in her element, playing the gracious host, refilling wine glasses and laughing a little too loudly at Richard's jokes. She kept touching my arm, presenting me to her friends. Art made this table himself. Can you believe it? He can make anything. After dinner, as coffee was being served, I stood up. If I could have your attention for a moment, I said, my voice steady. As you know, Brenda and I are celebrating our 2-year anniversary soon. I wanted to give her my gift tonight in front of all the friends who have become so important to her. I brought the walnut box out from the sideboard and placed it in the center of the table. There was gasps of admiration. Oh, Art, it's exquisite, Brenda breathed, her eyes shining with materialistic pride. It's a memory box, I explained, my eyes scanning the faces around the table before landing on hers.
It's for us to fill with the keepsakes of our future together. I thought we could start it tonight by placing our most important recent memory inside. I reached into my pocket. She probably thought I was going to pull out a key or maybe even a ring. Instead, I pulled out my old flip phone. I opened it, navigated to the text message, and held it up. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a saw blade. "This is a text from you, Brenda, from 3 Tuesdays ago." I read it aloud. "Hey, honey, running late. Met up with June for a surprise shopping trip." I looked up and gestured to my right. And as you all know, this is June, who was kind enough to help us with dinner tonight. June gave a small, sad wave. I turned my gaze back to Brenda. Her smile was frozen on her face, a brittle, cracking facade. The color drained from her cheeks. Richard Vance leaned back in his chair, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. He wasn't her ally. He was a spectator at a train wreck. "The thing is, Brenda," I continued, my voice even and calm, "June was here with me that afternoon, helping me plan this very anniversary gift. So my question is, who were you really having lunch with at the spa that day? Before we fill this box with our future, I think we need to be honest about our past." The silence in the room was absolute. It was so quiet, you could hear the old house creak.
Brenda just stared at me, her mouth slightly open. She looked from my face to June's, then to Richard Vance, who simply raised an eyebrow and took a slow sip of his wine. There was no escape hatch, no plausible lie she could invent on the spot. I hadn't yelled, I hadn't accused. I had simply presented two contradictory facts and let the truth do the heavy lifting. Her carefully constructed image as the gracious, honest partner to the simple, noble craftsman crumbled to dust in front of the very people she was trying to impress. It was one of her friends, a woman named Diane, who broke the silence. "Well," she said, clearing her throat and dabbing her lips with a napkin, "it is getting late. Paul, I think we should be going." It was a stampede in slow motion. Within 5 minutes, the house was empty, save for the three of us, me, Brenda, and June. The half-eaten dessert, the expensive wine, and the beautiful empty memory box sat on the table between us. Brenda finally found her voice, but it was a venomous whisper. "How could you do this to me, in front of everyone?" "Do what?" I asked calmly. "I asked a question. You're the one who built this entire evening on a lie. This whole relationship, apparently. I just held up a mirror, Brenda. It's not my fault you didn't like the reflection." She tried to fight, to deflect, to blame me, but there was no ground to stand on. She had been exposed not as a monster, but as something far more pathetic, a fraud. She knew it, I knew it, and worst of all for her, they knew it. Her new shiny friends had seen the cheap machinery behind the curtain. I turned my back on her to start clearing the plates. "I want you out by morning," I said. She left without another word. June helped me clear the table. She placed a hand on my arm. "Are you okay, Art?" I looked at the walnut box, a beautiful coffin for a dead relationship. I said, "I will be. It's better to find a crack in the foundation now than after you've built the whole house." She left a few days later, sending a moving company for her things. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to save face, but the story was out. In a town like ours, that kind of humiliation sticks. Vance, I heard, dropped her like a hot rock, an embarrassing liability. She hadn't just lost the place to live, she'd lost the social status she'd been so desperate to build. I'm back in my workshop. It's quiet again. The memory box sits on a shelf, and every now and then I run my hand over its smooth, polished surface. I didn't smash it. It's not the box's fault. It's a good, solid piece. The craftsmanship is honest, even if the intention behind it was born from deceit. I thought rebuilding my life meant finding someone to fill the empty spaces Eleanor left behind. I was wrong. You can't patch an old life with new material. You have to build something new, and it has to start with a true foundation. Brenda wasn't a foundation, she was just decoration. She liked the look of my life, but she didn't respect the work that went into it. She wanted the shade of the old oak tree without ever having to water the roots. This whole mess wasn't a victory. There's no joy in another person's humiliation, not really. It's just a correction, a realignment. Like when a piece of wood is warped, you don't just paint over it. You have to plane it down, find the true grain again. I lost what I thought I had, but I found something more valuable. My self-respect. My hands are my own again. The sawdust on my jeans is a badge of honor, not something to be brushed off before dinner. I look at that locket, still unfinished, on my workbench. I think I'll finish it. I'll put a picture of Eleanor on one side and a picture of my workshop on the other. A reminder of what's real, what's lasting, and what I built with my own two hands. A man can live a good, full life with just that.
Like and subscribe.